Think about the last time you argued about politics with someone. Maybe it was the impeachment hearings, maybe it was the elections. You were absolutely sure you know where they stood. And you were sure na mali sila. But did you actually ask them what they believe? Or did you just fill in the blanks yourself? Because the odds are you probably got them more wrong than you think. Yung akala mong sarado Duterte, hindi naman pala diehard. And there is a name for that phenomenon. It's called false polarization. And it's not just happening in our politics, it's in our offices, our families, our group chats, and all over the Philippines right now and for the last 10 years. Aasenso rin tayo, Philippine Policy, Business, and Career for the Filipino Professional. My name is Patricia Matias. I have an MBA from MIT and a public policy degree from Harvard. I'm an AI consultant, a corporate girly, and I write about work and governance as a child of the Philippines. For each episode, I bring headlines that matter, what they mean for your career, and one deep dive on an issue that we should all care about. Aasenso rin tayo, ang Pilipinas, your career, your industry. So here's what we're getting into today. How to disagree better in a polarized world. But first, let's talk about our headlines. Headline number 1. Mag-umpisa tayo sa issue na ramdam ng lahat ngayon. Ang presyo ng diesel, lampas na sa 100 piso bawat litro. 104 piso to be exact. And gasoline is at 87.50. And this isn't just a 1-week spike ng prices. We're looking at the 13 straight week of gasoline price hikes and 15 weeks for diesel. Sunod-sunod at walang tigil na pagtaas ng presyo. And that's because of the conflict in the Middle East. The fighting between US, Israel, and Iran has disrupted oil shipping throughout the Strait of Hormuz. The Philippines import 95 to 98% of its oil from that region. So every barrel lost in the Gulf shows up directly at the pumps dito sa atin. So kung nagko-commute ka sa Metro Manila or kahit saan pa sa Pilipinas, ramdam na ramdam mo na to. Tumaas na ang jeepney fare, mas mahal na ang Grab, at kung nagda-drive ka, ine-estimate mo na every morning kung kaya mo pa bang pumasok dahil sa presyo ng gasolina na to. Tapos dagdag pa na ang inflation hit 4.1% in March, a 20-month high. So hindi lang sa transportation ito, yung groceries mo rin, yung renta mo, lahat ay apektado. And the government is in some ways responding. The LTFRB is rolling out a service contracting program for public utility vehicles or PUVs starting April 15. The Department of Energy says we have about 50 days of fuel supply, and the government secured diesel shipments from Malaysia to diversify our fuel sources para hindi lang laging from the Gulf. But labor groups say that it is not enough. They're calling for an urgent shift in employment strategy, pointing out that nearly 3 million Filipinos were unemployed at the start of this year. So mas mahirap pa na wala tayong trabaho at mataas ang presyo ng mga bilihin. Ang sabi ng gobyerno, they're moving and they're doing their best. Ang sabi ng mga manggagawa ay hindi pa sapat ang mga solusyon. And notice that both sides actually agree that may problema, there's a crisis. At hindi lang sila magkasundo kung ano yung tamang response. And that tension between people who agree on the problem but see the solution differently, yun ang pag-uusapan natin sa episode na to. Keep an eye out on fuel prices next week. May slight easing ng US-Iran tensions na pwedeng mag-pull down kahit kaunti sa mga presyo ng gasolina natin. Pero yung mas malaking issue na halos lahat ng oil natin ay galing sa Middle East, yun ang long-term problem na hindi pa natin nababago. Now, headline number 2. This week, the House of Representatives resumes impeachment hearings against Vice President Sara Duterte. The hearing on April 14th features key witnesses including Ramil Madriaga, who claims that he worked with the Vice President's security officers to transport cash to various individuals. The House Committee on Justice could finish the probable cause stage this month. And if at least 106 lawmakers support the articles of impeachment, it goes to the Senate for a trial. Now, Duterte asked the Supreme Court to block those hearings. On April 8th, the court declined to issue a restraining order. So, tuloy ang hearing. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I think about this case. You probably already know. But whatever your position is, tingnan natin yung nangyayari sa paligid natin ngayon. Group chats are splitting, families are not talking at Sunday lunch, at yung mga dating magkakaibigan, nagtatawagan na ng mga traidor or blind followers and nagsasabihan ng mga masasamang words. Yung impeachment ang nasa headline, pero ang totoong impact nito, ang totoong cause, ay kung ano ang ginagawa nito sa mga relationships natin. And that's a big part of what we're getting into today in the episode. And so, one more headline before we go deep. Great Place to Work just released the best workplaces in the Philippines for 2026. 55 organizations made that list based on surveys from more than 240,000 employees. Synchrony Philippines topped the large company category and Hilton led the medium category. Pero ito ang talaga nakakuha ng pansin ko. The overall trust index or the score measuring how much employees trust their workplaces fell from 86% in 2023 to 82% last year. Pababa ang trust sa trabaho across the country. And that probably makes sense, right? There's 3 years of hybrid confusion, tech layoffs, rising costs, stress na stress ang mga tao, and the stress erodes trust in our workplaces. But sa companies na pumasok sa listahan, 96% of employees say that they look forward to coming to work. Wow! Malaking agwat yun. And so, begs the question, what sets those companies apart is that they care about the outcomes and not just how long they're sitting at a desk. And they have built a culture where people feel safe enough to raise concerns without worrying about retaliation. And trust here isn't a poster on the wall for these companies. It's really something that the culture invests in and day out. And so whether you're job hunting or evaluating the workplace that you're already at, this is worth paying attention to. You need to ask, what happens when someone disagrees with a decision in this company? How does your team handle conflict? And if you're already inside a particular company, look around. Do people speak up in their meetings? Or do they just nod and magrereklamo after? Yung sagot dyan ang magsasabi sa'yo kung a-ascend ko ba talaga sa company na yon or mababurn out ka lang. So, those are our headlines. 3 news stories para updated ka this week. An oil crisis squeezing your wallet, an impeachment testing the country, and trust at work na patuloy na bumababa. Now, there is a common thread sa tatlong stories na to. All of them is about what happens when people stop trying to understand each other. Ang gobyerno at ang mga labor groups, hindi sila magkasundo sa crisis response. Ang impeachment at ang politics, naghahati sa mga pamilya natin. Ang mga workplaces nawawala ng trust across different teams. So, let's talk about this. Pag-usapan natin kung paano tayo magdidisagree ng mas maayos at hindi gumagawa ng mga kalaban. So, a few years ago, before I came to Harvard, I worked for an edtech startup in the Philippines. It was the first company of its kind, bringing digital tools to the country's education system. Malaking pangarap yun. We had just raised our Series A funding. We expanded to about 100 employees. And every person in the company was there because we believed in the mission. We want Philippine education to be better. Pero medyo masyadong mabilis ang expansion ng startup for a company that hasn't really found a good product market fit yet. And 2019 was the year when things became a lot more difficult. We were burning through cash and investors wanted to see revenue growth, understandably, because without revenue, wala rin yung mission namin. The pressure was really real for everyone, and gradually, 2 competing groups formed inside the company, with each of them seeing the situation differently. On one side, the product and the content teams, they believed that the company's first job was to build a great product for students. They worried that chasing client revenue was pulling us away from the mission of improving education that we all signed up for. On the other side, there's the sales teams. We were under real pressure to hit revenue targets, and for good reason, kasi kung walang revenue, wala din yung company, and walang pambayad sa mga employees. And kung walang bayad sa employees, wala ding produkto for the students. The clients who are funding us wanted customized solutions, and delivering those projects but was how we kept the lights on, frankly. So when the product teams pushed back on client work, it felt like being blamed for trying to keep the business alive. And medyo naging personal siya. Yung mga team na dating nagla-launch magkakasama, hindi na nag-uusap. May mga nasabi na hindi na pwedeng bawiin, and minsan sa mga meeting, may mga pagtataas na ng boses. Nasira yung mga professional relationships na matagal naming binuo. And the leadership really tried their best to fix it. We had shared town halls, we had a unity slogan, we had separate conversations with each of the groups. But by that point, sira na yung trust across the company, and people didn't believe the process was neutral. And in the end, the conflict detracted from our goals and our mission, at marami sa magagaling naming katrabaho ang unfortunately nag-resign. Now, I was on the sales team, but my unit served clients in the social development sector. So the product team and the content team considered us as being impact-driven. I tried to mend relationships across the teams by hosting lunches, board game nights, things like that. And malaki yung attendance, lalo na from the product teams. And I really think those game nights kept some bridges open that would have otherwise collapsed. But looking back, I hope I did more. I had relationships on both sides of the bridge, a unique middle ground position, but I just felt like I was a mid-level manager at the time, and I didn't really have the authority or the framework even to be able to intervene effectively. And here's the thing, that same pattern, the same breakdown in communication is happening at a much larger scale in the Philippines for the past decade. Think about the 2022 presidential election. Marcos versus Robredo, the unit team versus the Kakampinks. Families split down the middle. Friends unfollowed each other on social media. And then 2025 only made it worse. The Marcos Duterte alliance collapsed. The ICC arrest happened. The impeachment started. Supporters on both sides that were in the same team before built walls around their positions. And the space for actual conversation and dialogue disappeared. Hindi na tayo nag-uusap. Nagbabarilan na lang tayo ng mga opinyon natin. So sa office man o sa Pilipinas, the pattern is the same. People just stop listening altogether. We start assuming the worst about the other side, the other person. And what could be a productive disagreement becomes a full-blown conflict. When I was at Harvard, I took a class called Understanding People, Conflict, and People in Conflict, taught by Professor Julia Minson. In the class, everything that I had watched fall apart before, sa startups ko, sa politika, sa mga pamilya, it just made more sense. The class gave me the language for what was going wrong and what could actually work. So, let me give you the gist. Madalas, iniisip natin na nag-aaway tayo dahil magkaiba yung values natin. In most cases, mali lang ang pagkakaintindi natin sa posisyon ng kabilang side, and we've lost the tools to listen to them. I will explain two concepts here kung bakit nasisira ang mga conversations natin at isang framework na pwede natin gamitin this week para makapag-disagree tayo ng maayos. The first concept is called false polarization. Let me explain what that means. Kapag may conflict tayo with someone, we tend to believe na mas extreme ang views nila than they actually are. For example, in the startup that I worked with before, yung product team, akala nila wala talagang paki yung sales team sa quality ng product, na parang pera lang yung habol nila. On the other side, yung sales team naman, akala nila against ang product team sa survival ng company, na mas mahalaga sa kanila ang creative freedom nila kaysa manatiling buhay yung business ng startup. Pero sa totoo lang, both of them got each other wrong. Yung sales team, may pake din sila sa impact. That's why they work for their company in the first place. Yung product team, alam din nila na kailangan ng revenue ng company. Pero dahil walang maayos na pag-uusap, nasemento na sa isip nila yung mga caricature na ginawa nila sa isa't isa. Now think about it. Kailan ang huling pagkakataon na nag-argue kayo about politics with someone? Did you actually ask them kung ano yung pinaniniwalaan nila? Or did you just assume and filled in the blank yourself? There's a 2019 study from the organization More in Common that measured this very phenomenon. They surveyed thousands of Americans, both Democrats and Republicans, and asked them two things. What do you actually believe on certain issues? And what do you think the other side from the other party believes? And the results were very surprising. On immigration, 85% of Republicans agreed that properly controlled immigration can actually be good for America. But Democrats guessed only about half of the Republicans would say that. On policing, 85% of Democrats disagreed that most police are bad people. But Republicans estimated that almost half of them Democrats would actually agree with that. And so, on both sides, people imagined twice as many of their opponents holding extreme views than they actually did. That's the perception gap. You're not arguing with the actual person in front of you. You're arguing with the caricature that you built inside your head about them. And your counterpart is also doing the same thing to you. So, tingnan natin ang Pilipinas ngayon. After the 2025 midterms, the impeachment, the ICC arrest, the Marcos-Duterte split, halos hindi na makapag-usap yung magkakabilang panig. Pero totoo ba talagang ganun kalayo yung mga positions natin? Or gumawa lang ba tayo nung caricature na to sa isip natin ng isa't isa na mas mahirap i-bridge? Yan ang false polarization, and it's unfortunately everywhere. Sa politika, sa mga katrabaho natin, sa kapagkainan, sa mga pamilya natin. Now, the second concept is called naive realism. This is the idea that each of us believes na tayo ang objective, na tayo ang nakakakita ng totoo, and anyone who disagrees must be biased, misinformed, or hindi lang talaga sila nag-iisip. Let's talk about it in my startup example. Both teams were convinced na tama sila, and they assumed that the other side is wrong or simply misguided. Each side explained away the other's position as simply a role bias. Siyempre, pera lang yung habol ng sales team kasi yun yung trabaho nila. Or sabi naman ng kabila, siyempre, hindi maiintindihan ng product team ang business at revenues kasi hindi naman sila yung nag-close ng deal at kumakausap sa mga clients. Ang delikado sa naive realism is that it very much feels like clarity. Para bang ikaw ang only rational na tao in the room. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Dahil kung sigurado ka na objective at ikaw ang tama, bakit ka pa makikinig? Kung nasa iyo na yung tamang sagot, di ba? I have both an MBA from Harvard and an MBA from MIT. And with all honesty and humility, the most important thing I learned in that classroom was just how little education protects you from this trap. And if anything, the more educated you are, the more confident you become in your own perspective, and the less likely you are to question it. The only real protection is the grace and the humility to pause and to ask yourself, what if I'm the one who's not seeing this clearly? What if ako yung mali? That is the diagnosis. False polarization na mas malaki ang tingin nating gap between ours and our counterparts' views. Naive realism, akala natin na tayo ang objective. Both of these make disagreements harder than they really have to be. Now let's talk about a solution. Professor Minson's research centers on something called conversational receptiveness, the specific words and behaviors that signal to the other person na willing kang makinig sa kanila. Hindi ibig sabihin na nag-a-agree ka sa kanila. Ibig sabihin, handa kang marinig yung side nila na you're taking them seriously as a thinking, intelligent person. And she developed a framework called HEAR, H-E-A-R, 4 actions, and let me walk you through each one of them. Number 1 is H, or hedge your claims. Instead of saying, you always prioritize revenue over impact, why don't you try, in many cases, parang revenue ang nauuna. It's the same point, but you're leaving room for the other person to respond without feeling cornered. Walang atake. Hedging says, alam ko na hindi lang ako yung may valid perspective dito. Second one, E, emphasize agreement. Before you get into the disagreement, name what you share. I think pareho nating gusto na mag-survive yung company na to. Pareho nating iniisip ang mga makakabuti sa mga estudyante. Kapag magsimula ka with a common ground, bumababa ang depensa ng kausap mo. Hindi na sila nakabraced for an attack. Third one, A, acknowledge their perspective. Now, ito yung pinakamahirap. Before you say your piece, makinig ka muna and ipakita mo na narinig mo talaga yung side nila. Try something like, naiintindihan ko kung bakit urgent ang revenue target sa team nyo. Kasi yun yung trabaho ng mga tao nyo at nakasalalay dyan yung job security nyo. Hindi ka nag-a-admit na talo ka sa argument. Pinapakita mo lang na ginawa mo ang effort na intindihin kung saan talaga sila nanggagaling. Fourth, R, reframe to the positive. Instead of saying, hindi nyo pwedeng patuloy na i-overload ang product team, why don't you try, siguro makakatulong kung may joint review process tayo for client requests. Less hindi at bawal, and more, ito ang pwedeng gumana. And here's the deeper move. When you reframe, you're telling the other person, we're on the same team. Hindi tayo magkalaban. Magkasama tayong naghahanap ng solusyon. In politics, parehas nating mahal ang Pilipinas at gusto nating umasenso. That shift from me versus you to us working together, that's where the real progress happens. What came out of Professor Minson's experiments is that even with brief training on this HEAR or HEAR framework, participants were rated by their counterparts or the people that disagreed with them as more trustworthy, more reasonable, and more desirable as teammates. And even on very deeply divisive topics. And there's a bonus to it as well. Contagious siya, nakakahawa siya. When you become more receptive, the other person tends to mirror that as well. In a world where trust at work is dropping and political arguments are destroying friendships, a skill that makes people want you on their team, that's a big career advantage. One last piece. Before you try to resolve a disagreement, let's try to rebuild the human connection first. Let me give you an example. In the United States, polarization between Democrats and Republicans is as severe as it has ever been. Surveys show that both people on the other side rate each other's party as a threat to democracy. Sound familiar? Ganyan din tayo. But in the middle of it all, a certain group in Congress called the Modernization Committee did something simple that actually worked. They rearranged the seating, yung mga upuan, so that Republicans and Democrats sat next to each other instead of across from each other. They held dinner events. They changed speaking formats para makarespond talaga yung mga tao sa isa't isa instead of delivering prepared attacks. And that committee became one of the most productive bipartisan groups in recent congressional history. In my startup example, yung weekly board game nights na inorganize ko, parang ganun din yung naging effect niya kahit mas maliit yung scale. Kasi kapag naglaro kayo ng Catan or Sushi Go on a Wednesday night, mahirap i-dismiss yung tao on Monday morning. Kasi nakita mo na silang tumawa, nakita mo silang mag-strategize, nakilala mo na sila as a person and hindi lang as a job title na nagbablock sa project mo. And this also applies outside of work. Think about your family. Kung ang only time na kakausapin mo yung tito mo ay kapag na-bring up ang politics sa family reunion, syempre magiging tense yung usapan na yan. Pero kung nagluluto kayo together or nagtutulungan sa bahay or nagkwakwentuhan about the kids, merong foundation yung difficult conversations mo. Nandun na yung relationship between you and your tito at yung disagreement, pangalawa na lang yan sa relationship. And you'll be able to better bridge that together. So how do you actually do this? Una, let's build shared spaces. Kumain tayo together, maglaro tayo, find ways to connect na walang kinalaman muna sa disagreement. Because that's what reminds you that the other person is also a whole human being and not just a political position. Pangalawa, when you're ready to have a difficult conversation, start by listening. Ask them what they actually think, not to debate and not to rebut, but simply to understand. Let them feel heard before you share your side. Now, pangatlo, come with questions, not conclusions. Bakit mo ginusto yun? Ano yung concern mo talaga? Good questions, more than good answers, open doors. And premature answers just shut them down. Now, I know that the pushback on this is usually that some disagreements are really about values. There are just some people who hold positions that are genuinely harmful. And you can't just framework your way out of everything. And that's a very fair point. And I'm not here to tell you to seek agreement with everyone. There really are moments where moral clarity matters more than conversational technique. And let me add this as well. Sometimes the other person is truly closed off. Hindi sila nag-hedge, hindi sila naki-acknowledge, puro sila attack. They're doing all of the things, all of the bad things that we talked about, yung naive realism, false polarization, and they have no interest in ever hearing you out. In those cases, you have to be honest with yourself. Baka hindi worth it to even converse kasi hindi ko naman sila mako-convert. And if you feel that the conversation will be genuinely harmful to you, if it's someone who consistently tears you down or makes you feel unsafe, you have every right to walk away from that conversation. That is a valid choice. Not every disagreement deserves your energy, and protecting yourself is not the same as being close-minded. But before you decide that the other person is the unreachable one, consider this. Remember yung dalawang concepts that we talked about, false polarization and naive realism? Those apply to us as well. Baka tayo nagkakamali sa perception natin. Baka yung tingin natin na extreme yung kabilang side, yun mismo ang false polarization na gumagana sa atin. Baka yung kumpiyansa natin na tayo yung tama, yun yung naive realism sa atin. So maybe before we write someone off, we give ourselves just a little grace and just a little doubt. Maybe we're getting it wrong. And if there's even a chance of that, the conversation might still be worth having. Because here's what Harvard's research shows. Even when you fundamentally disagree, signaling receptiveness changes the quality of the conversation. The other person becomes less defensive. They share more of their actual reasoning, hindi lang yung talking points nila. And you learn that whether the gap between you is as wide as you thought or whether false polarization was doing the work all along. You don't have to move your position and you don't have to convince anyone as well. Ang tanging kailangan ay ipakita mo sa kausap mo na naririnig mo sila. That's what opens the door. Para kayo pareho ay matuto sa isa't isa. Para lumawak yung pag-unawa ninyo. Para maybe, eventually, mas maintindihan nyo ang isa't isa kahit hindi kayo mag-agree ngayon. So, here's what I want us to try this week. Pick one disagreement. Could be sa trabaho, with a family member, a friend, or sa group chat. And try one move from the HEAR or HEAR framework. Hedge one claim or acknowledge one thing na tama sa kabilang side. Tingnan nyo kung may mag-shift sa conversation nyo. Hindi naman kailangan na magkasundo tayo sa lahat. Ang kailangan lang ay kaya pa rin nating makipag-usap tao sa tao. And that is the episode. If you learned something today, please share it with one person who you think could benefit from this. That could be your part in rebuilding connections and helping our people talk to each other again. Find me on Instagram at aasenso rin tayo. Drop me a message. I read everything and I try to reply. My name is Patricia Matias. This is Aasenso rin tayo podcast. Hanggang sa muli. See you next time.